Maybe it doesn't involve them, but I think a project of this magnitude, people should be at least aware of what's going on. And I believe that last time they came through and things were all buttoned up before people knew about it, that was very
stressful.
And that's not the word I'm searching for, Robin, but thank you. But I think
It left a bad taste.
it did not smell good to a lot of constituents, and I think they're just revisiting that again. And we were hopeful, I think the people were hopeful that this board this time, after learning how it went last time, things would be much more transparent. And I agree, yeah, and it's none of my business who's gonna get it and what the terms are of their lease, it's not. But if I'm entertaining my family and that windmill is making noise and humming and I've suddenly lost 20% of my bird population, I don't have any bats anymore, I'm being affected. I just...
Directly affected.
I just think that the informational piece, that ball got seriously dropped. I think the public could have known a little bit of something about this, and it would have really, really gone a long way to lessen the angst. And that's my feeling. You can disagree if you want, and that's okay.
So when this first started too, I've come to a lot of these meetings, and when it first started, Kevin Sheen stood up there and he said, yeah, we took a re-look at Howard, and we looked at the winds and this kind of thing, and we think 650-foot turbines will work here with 6 megawatt motors on them. Now they're talking about reducing the height and the size of the motors. So 650 feet, people, you know how tall that is? It's pretty tall. And I don't think anybody here is trying to tell anybody what they can do on their property. You should be able to do whatever you want to do on your property. But when it impacts other people, it's totally wrong. And my thought of the whole thing, if a turbine doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. It's almost like you're being forced by the town boards and the state of New York telling you how much flicker you have to tolerate or how much noise you have to tolerate. It just doesn't seem, it just smells bad. And if there's a place you can put it and it doesn't affect anybody, I'm not against a turbine. And the reason I'm here is because I'm going to be sandwiched between 2 turbines. I listened to Lowell over there and said, I took what he said one night at home and I thought about it. He said, you got to just live your life. And honestly, that's what I want to do. But I don't want to do it in an electric facility either.
And I think that's one of the things that's really important to the constituents of Howard is the rural character of our town. And when you put up 650-foot turbines, it's not a benign structure on the hillside. It's an industrial structure that changes the landscape.
Rhonda, you had a very good point earlier about how it was 1,000 feet before, but now we know a lot more. There's a lot more data and information that needs to be looked at how this affects the environment and people.
And I'm a healthcare provider. I look at other studies that you got to look at who funds the studies, first of all.
Oh, yeah.
And I do know that there are health implications for something that big. And for noise that big, for visuals that big,
Electromagnetic fields.
the EMRs that big, and I think that's another burr under the saddle of the constituents of Howard, because I think in general, Sheen said it himself. They moved here because Plattsburgh was becoming onerous, so they're looking to us. And I feel that reflects on the intelligence quotient of our community. Like we're woodchucks, you can roll over us. Well, we're not woodchucks. Many of us here are very educated and have serious good questions, and for someone to just kind of minimize that, say, well, we can roll them over and we can come on in and put those there. Done it before.
One last thing, like you had said, the Catskills has lots of wind. I mean, wouldn't you want your power source closer to where it's being used? Why would you go now away from the main population? Less resistance?
Because
Right.
people have money there, they can resist the process.
Right, where there's money, they're not putting them, they won't put them in the Finger Lakes.
They can build them, give them.
There's too much money there.
They spend less money.
And there's no
They don't
doubt,
give us as much.
all these local farmers here are struggling, you know? Not, maybe not all of them, but yeah, and that money is a very big incentive.
So,
But my brother and I have farmland, that would have been a big incentive for us to pay our taxes. But
just one other thing, if the town's used to all that extra money from 20 years from now, they're never gonna go away. There's gonna be another round, because you just can't adapt to losing all that income.
Well, if they do go away, then you're gonna lose all that
Well,
income.
then everybody's taxes get threatened to go up, and then everybody accepts them. So once they're here, they're here. Unless wind favor goes out, like plastic bags or paper, I don't know, I lost track what it is now.
Right.
And they're still here because who's gonna take them down?
Right.
Well, there could be a new technology.
And they're supposed to take them down, but that doesn't mean they will.
Right. And that was one of Bob's points is, you know, the town of Howard already has done a lion's share of green energy with what we have already. And I think that we're getting more because there has been bigger and better pushback from other townships. And now our town board is gonna say, we're gonna just lay down and keep the old law. And I think that's problematic for a lot of constituents. I'm not gonna say it's an election year. I'm just saying, you know, you guys were elected by constituents who have very strong feelings. And I think every measured look deserves a measured look. Look at who profits, listen to what they've got to say, look at those who have dissenting opinions, listen to what they've got to say. My feeling all along is that every constituent here deserves a voice and needs to be listened to.
If I may just say something about your health issue aspect of it, you know, so many people say there's no health issues, that's just all propaganda. What about people that have seizures, that they can't look at flashing on the television, I think? People get migraines from ceiling fans going around. So what if somebody is getting one of these 2.5 times the size as turbine from their house, they're gonna have flashing coming at their house, the sounds. I mean, there's real, you know, there's real illnesses that sound, light, all these things do affect. So, to me,
I'll speak to that.
yeah, to me, I think, how could it not
that,
be the same?
Even your TVs can bring off, you have to have obsolescence first to cause a seizure,
Right.
right? It can be water, you know, just sunshine glistening off of water like that. But
What I'm saying is if you have epilepsy and somebody's putting one of these right near your house.
modern day wind turbines don't rotate fast enough to cause that. We studied it all out. Some of the other ones did, the modern day wind turbines don't turn fast enough to cause that.
I think Robin made a great point that we glazed right over, is that this current board has done some money-saving steps that
Right.
saved you almost, or if
Yeah,
not,
if
very
not
close
to what
would
you
earn.
get from the windmills.
Like, holy cow, that seems to me to be very important. Just, and the things you did weren't like on and on.
Yeah,
and on.
we're like losing a limb.
I mean, that's
They
to
were
your credit, and
smart,
that should be
pragmatic things.
celebrated.
Which
We'll
did
talk
come
about
at a
that.
cost for some people.
And I think Rhonda brings up a good point. If she's fielding all of these calls from the public, she deserves to have some type of explanation to them.
I would like to be able to say to the general public, you know what? Town board realizes there's a lack of information out there. We'd like to have just a public venue where we can bring you up to snuff on what's happening right now. We can't guarantee anything. We don't know what's gonna happen even in 2 months, let alone 4 to 6 months. But this is what we know right now, and we think it's important to keep you informed because you're our community.
We feel an obligation to be fully transparent. Here's your opportunity.
And here's your opportunity.
You didn't know, you did.
We are an experiment, the 600 high turbines. One is in Texas, and the ones that are in Potter County, Pennsylvania, are just being built. So nobody really knows what's going on with the issues. I mean, we can bring up things that are health issues, but I remember the fire in Cohocton on one of the turbines, and some people had to sell their horses because the horses were getting crazy over being too close to the windmills, you know, and so it's a big experiment, and you know, there's no data for these giant machines, and it's like there's no other place to go to experiment, but people that don't have that are easy prey and don't have like resources to reject this experiment. So the experiment's coming here, and what can we do about it?
And I will reiterate what Mike said at the last meeting. We are all community members, we are all friends. Basically, this is a nice, tight-knit community. We all know one another, and we try to support one another, whether it's a fireman's, whatever, church function, community building, whatever. We all work together to support one another. So it's a very passionate time. These are raising very passionate feelings in people, very polar ideas. And we can voice those disagreements and agree to disagree, but we'll still remain friends. And that's all anybody can hope for in the community.
I'm sure there's plenty of people by this project that aren't standing up to oppose it because they got stuck with it. Of the 180 signatures we have, how many, most of them are probably north of the expressway?
Yeah, but not all of them.
Not all of them, but most of them.
Yeah, probably.
75%.
And then, you know, how many of us live within the project compared to how many people live in the town of Howard have signed that petition that are gonna be directly affected by it?
Right.
Something to think about.
Yeah, and again, if I may just say one other thing is, you know, as far as the neighbors, I mean, that's why I moved here. I love the community of everybody. My neighbors on both sides of me are farmers. This money would really help them a lot. I want this for them at the same time. You know, it's going to affect me. I'm walking on eggshells. We all are as neighbors because we don't want to lose each other's friendships. It's even more than that. They're family. They're family to me. And this is happening in our communities. It's just not right that these, you know, this is what these companies are doing. They tear communities apart. And I mean, to me, that's even one of the biggest things, you know. I mean, you know, it really does. It puts people, one person needs the thing and the other person next to them doesn't. And you don't want to lose those friendships. And it's, you know, there's so many facets to this. I said to my neighbor, a lot of you probably know him, Vaughn Emo, the Emo family. They're wonderful people. And I said, I know, Vaughn, there's so many layers to this onion, you know, and nobody wants to peel off the layers and really look into this. I know there's money involved for the town, but isn't there more creative ways that are just better for the environment, better for the community? You know, I'm a self-employed artist. I'm on unemployment right now. They offered me a good neighbor agreement. And it's, you know, that money sounds so good. In fact, they said that they're doing it just to be nice, and I know that's not the truth, because if they decide they want to come on my road, I found this part out the other day, I didn't even know that. If they want to widen the road, and I had signed that agreement, they could just come and, you know, widen the road right on my land. But anyway, I can't, it's good money, but I can't sell my soul. I can't sell who I am. You know, for the natural world, we have so much beauty. If you're a religious person and you have spiritual beliefs, there's so much beauty here for us. And why? I don't know. I mean, again, the turbines are not a bad thing in a lot of ways. They're better than a lot of other options, but they should not be in poor communities where they're making friends and family fight with one another. I mean, I see the reason. I see how the town could use the money, but it just seems there's got to be better ways. You know, I said to Eli, I'm not taking the money. We've survived 40 years so far. I am not taking money for somebody to come in and, you know, destroy the wetlands where I live. I've got 45 bats in my barn that come out every night, and, you know, we have no mosquitoes. I love having the bats. They're gonna fly right up the stream and go right to those turbines. So, and that's just one example. The birds, you know, they say they don't kill as many birds as cats. First of all, these are migrating birds mostly that are already endangered. And, you know, I don't know, some of you may not even care about the natural world, but if you do, it's really, there's just, again, so many layers to this. And I think everybody's just saying, please just think about it, really think about it, seriously. And I'm sure you're all great people. Again, that's why I moved here. I love, you know, the country living and everybody in the community aspect of it, but there's just so many negatives to the little bit of positive, in my opinion, you get from all this.
Well,
How long have you lived here?
I've been here 22 years.
I've been here 76 years.
Well, I know, and that's the other thing, yes, I'm the city slicker that
There's a lot,
comes here, I
you know, back,
understand.
when I can remember as a little guy, you go out driving around at night and there was no pole lights, there was no yard lights,
Right.
there was no street lights in the city, there was nothing.
Right,
And now occasionally when you're out doing something and if we have a power outage and there's nothing to see, only just darkness, it's pretty damn nice.
well, yeah, I know,
So,
I know it is, it is.
Well, you're still putting up with all this stuff that people have shoved onto you,
Over the years.
Yeah,
and so you've lost the battle already.
Streetlights and poles are
Well,
everywhere,
is-
not windmills. Streetlights and poles are everywhere pretty much, except the
Right.
back roads,
Right.
not windmills.
Right.
what it's
So,
worth,
not
as soon
everywhere
as I
around
bought my
here.
property, I took the street light out. I mean, I'm not took it out, but the person that had before was paying for it, and no lights, I hear, that's the thing, I know what you're saying, and so then why, that's the thing, these things just need to be weighed and not gonna, and I'm sorry, I've
Well,
been taking up a lot of.
thank you all for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.